Welcome to Shining the Light. My name is S.E. Walebo, and my guest today is Mothusi Sechele. He has BS Computer Information System, MS Information Systems Technology, MBA with a focus on project management, MS Engineering Management, worked for BTC and also for Verizon, worked in both the commercial and federal space in the US, currently employed as a program manager supporting implementation of telecom IT projects for the federal government. My brother, how are you,
Wow.
man?
all good, man. How are you?
I'm doing the best I can, man. It's like you found a way to deal with this pandemic in the most positive way.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, these are unprecedented times, right?
Uh-huh.
We are all in an area that is, foreign. We're all treading on foreign, foreign property right here. We've never
Right.
been in anything like this. We've never, I mean, I could think back and I would have never imagined in my life there would be a time when, the world would experience something like this. So it's interesting times, but funny enough, I seem to be prepared.
You look great. You look prepared, man. I like.
Great.
Hey, I
But
I
hey,
gotta let mine go real bad. So, no, I always, like to see you with family, man. So let's talk a little bit about your background, where you grew up, part of Botswana, where you from, and so forth.
yeah, sure. So I mean, I was born about 44 years ago in Francistown, Botswana,
Oh,
Jubilee Hospital.
you were born in ghetto? I went to school
Oh,
in Francis
born
Town.
and raised, man. That's
Okay,
home.
okay. I went to school in Mother Spain, man. Yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah. I was born there,
Mhm.
and then in 1980 we moved to Lubati. So I was in
Uh-huh.
Lubati from 80 to 89, and then 90 I moved to Gabs.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I mean we're from, well, when I say from, I mean on my father's side,
hmm
because you
hmm
know
Yeah.
that's how it is. We forget the mother's side, but on
That's
my father's side,
hmm
my father is from a small village about 70 k's from Francistown called
hmm hmm
Sechele village.
Oh yeah. Okay, I know Sechele.
Yeah, or affectionately known to residents as Bolozwa, which is the hill um, of that small village.
Trust me,
That's
that's
a
my
that's a village that was started by my great grandfather, who
okay.
actually moved to Botswana from Zimbabwe.
hmm
So, you know, I guess in a way you can say I'm Ndebele, but
Okay.
now I say I'm Mukurutsi because
In
that's
Mkuruchi, yeah,
the
yeah,
people in that area.
in that area. Okay.
Mukurutsi Kalanga, some
Yeah.
people think it's Kalanga, but it's Mukurutsi because of the people in that area.
But you speak a little bit of Kalangan though, or
Oh man, no.
okay, okay.
I moved in 1980 to
Uh-huh.
Lobat. So
Yeah,
and
okay.
unfortunately I don't. I wish I did, but
So
unfortunately I don't.
my family speaks Kalang, so
Oh,
but
really?
I speak a little bit. Yeah. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know.
don't drop anything on me. Huh?
Okay, no, I won't. Look, man, and so you went to Crescent because if you are
So yeah. So primary school. I mean, I went
Mhm,
to a few preschools. The first preschool I went to was in Francistown,
mhm,
and amazingly enough, the Petkas who owned this preschool,
mhm,
I ended up in class with their son, Faze Petka,
yeah,
who we went to primary school with in Crescent, went to secondary school with in Gaborone.
uh-huh,
So, when I think back, that's probably one of the people that, weird enough, it just came to mind, that I've
right,
known for that long and is still around besides family. So
right,
yeah, I did my primary school in Lobatse. Or
mhm,
yeah.
yeah, and then you went to Gabs and you finished your high school over there. Then you ended up, coming over here, right? You completed your, mhm.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then you completed your college. You went back home and came
Yeah.
back. Right.
and came back. Yeah, it's funny. You never know what the future has in store, right?
Right.
I came here,
Hmm.
went to Michigan. I was at
Hmm.
Fair State University in Michigan.
Hmm.
Probably one of the worst moves weather-wise that I could
Hmm.
have made
I hear you.
because those winters up there were brutal.
Yeah,
But
yeah, they're
I
brutal.
had a ball.
Yeah.
I had a ball, enjoyed my undergrad, went home,
Hmm.
with great plans of taking over
Hmm.
the country, the continent,
Hmm.
with my brother.
Yeah,
Plans changed, and I came back.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the conditions when you went back home, the conditions were not such conducive for you to sort of kind of, blossom, in the way you wanted, or because
Well,
I
initially,
Mhm.
when I went back, the plan was we'd been working on starting a company with my brother, and we were at the stages where we were about to go into
Mhm.
operation. I
Mhm.
went there. There were some issues, funding. Long story short, we didn't go into business,
Mhm.
and I ended up going to work for BTC, as you've kind of stated it, kind of my profile there. So I went from leaving the US, going back home with these great plans of what I'm going to do, to
Mhm.
hitting the ground and facing reality. And some of those
Mhm.
plans didn't work quite quite
Mhm.
as planned.
Yeah.
So I had to pivot,
Mhm.
and went into general workforce. Thanks to
Mhm.
friends, Botswana is interesting because it's a small place, so
Mhm.
there's a lot of connections. So
Mhm.
friends like Owen Rampa is the person who got me connected with
Mhm.
Matoro Nolometi,
Okay.
got me to BTC, and
Okay.
and I started working there for two and a
Mhm.
half years. I had a ball,
Mhm.
great exposure, great environment, got to learn a lot.
Mhm.
But yeah, you know, there's your plans and then there's what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're gonna talk more about that because uh, and now you are here living this diasporic or in the diaspora or as a part of the diaspora family or community. And how were you able to make yourself comfortable within this American society? Because
Wow. What a question.
because because
It,
because America is a jungle. You know.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting because when I moved back home after undergrad,
Hmm.
I was ready to, be home and kind of live there for the rest of my life. I thought I'm done with school. This is it now. I'm going into the real world.
Hmm.
But what I noticed is I had almost become foreign in my own homeland.
Okay.
And being there was a challenge. And I started to look back. It always looks greener on the other side, right?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
always looking outward for whatever it is we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So I came back this way because I think it was more comfortable for me. Some of the
Mm-hmm.
limitations I had back home, I didn't quite see.
Mm-hmm.
And really, part of the reason I decided to come back here is because I was in a place in my life where I was ready to take charge of my life. I mean, from my upbringing, my parents had been there all along
Mm-hmm.
through college, and then the government took over in college. I went
Mm-hmm.
back home. I had friends who basically laid a job on my lap.
Yeah.
I just got to a point where I felt like, what is it that I've done that is credit that is not due to anyone else helping me out? I felt
Mm-hmm.
like I wanted to break out on my
Good point.
own,
Good
give
point.
myself a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever happens, know that is because of my input. So I had confidence that I could carve out a life for myself, the type of life that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few things when I was back home where I was maybe not happy with, and I wanted something different.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to come back here. I
Mm-hmm.
remember distinctly because I was working. I had a great job at BTC. There was a lot of different plans by different people, and I applied for grad school. And
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I had also applied for a loan to build my first house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Funny thing is, the acceptance letter and the approval for the loan came
Mhm.
in at the same time.
Yeah.
I remember sitting there thinking, man, how about that? So which
Yeah.
way am I going? And
Yeah.
it was clear
Mhm.
because I knew I wanted more.
Yeah.
There was a different life that I was looking for. There was more out of life that I wanted. So
Yeah.
I took all my savings. I
Mhm.
paid for a year of grad school. I paid BTC because I didn't even serve notice. People thought I was joking when I said I'm
Wow.
leaving. I paid notice
Yeah.
and I jumped on the plane and I said, you know what? I don't know what's on the other side, but
Yeah.
I have the confidence that whatever it is, I can make it happen.
That's
So
cool.
came back here,
Mhm.
left my job,
Mhm.
had enough money to cover 1 year. So I
Mhm.
had 1 year in essence to figure
Yeah.
out, to find my feet.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
So yeah, I mean, so basically, I kind of had my game face on. It was like, look, you have to make this happen. It's
Mhm.
going to be uncomfortable, but you have to make it happen because you
Right.
basically pulled out your safety net.
Mhm.
So so yeah, I mean that's essentially how it started. And I started working. I think about 4 months in, I was like, you know
Mhm.
what? Look, initially I was like, I haven't had a vacation for a while. I'm gonna just do school. So I was doing just school, doing great. And then I was like, okay, let me look for a job.
Mhm.
I found a job, and
Mhm.
now I started working full time, going to
Mhm.
school full time. You look at all these grades. So in essence, I mean, my life.
I gotta bring mine back. So yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, in essence, from basically 2007 February till till 2012, I was
Mhm.
in school and working full time. It
Wow.
wasn't all because I'd planned. I mean, people will say, why do you have three graduate degrees? I'd never planned to have three graduate degrees. But you talk about the diaspora and being here, there's things like, immigration, right? So in order, I was in a program where I could work full time and I could go to school full time,
Right.
but I was on a student visa.
Mhm.
So what happened is, out of the situation required that I stay in school full time to be,
Yeah.
you know, to maintain my status. So it
Yes.
wasn't like I planned like I'm gonna have X
Mhm.
amount of degrees. I mean, I was kind of pushed into that.
Right.
Circumstance pushed
Right.
me there. So in hindsight, now I look back and I'm
It
like,
wasn't
wow,
easy at all when it wasn't easy. Yeah. It was a
not
grind.
easy.
Yeah.
But it's I've come to discover easy
Mhm.
is like the worst lie out there, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
choose easy, but easy is actually painful. Easy is what is gonna get you regretting down the line.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean it happened that way and I mean I some people look at me now sometimes and ask me, how can you do this and do that and do this? And I think it's just been I think I've always looked for something.
Mm.
I've always there hasn't been a point where I just kind of laid back and I thought, oh, this is good, I've got it. Or, you know, I've always been looking for something. And even after, initially I thought school will give it to me. I thought maybe
Mhm.
my job will give it to me.
Mm. Yeah.
But I think once I hit 40, something happens. I don't know what it is. Maybe there's
Yeah.
clarity at 40.
Yeah. Yeah.
But once I hit 40, I remember meeting up with a friend in the neighborhood. And
Mhm.
the friend was, in some business
Mhm.
and invited me over to join them. And the friend recommended a book to me.
Okay. I know you read a lot. Mhm.
Yeah, this is so my journey now is nothing that is been
Mhm.
going on.
Mhm.
Prior to 40, the only reading I was doing was school and work. I mean,
Mm.
I easily went 20 years without reading anything personal that I didn't have to read for school or work. Easy,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
So I started reading.
Mhm.
And I think that's when things started to click for me. You talk about how do I manage in this crazy world? I think
Yeah.
that's when things started to click.
Yeah.
When I started to focus on me and
Mhm.
started chasing stuff that's out there.
Yeah. Wow. I'm glad that you just pointed out that, easy is not something that is, you can rely on, because a lot of people, especially people home, they just think that, just because you are in the US, you know,
A great misconception.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
We both know it all too well. Yeah.
yeah, it is difficult to deal with a tough situation, especially when you are far from home, right? But you have this resilience in you. Let's talk about this resilience, especially in tough times. You know, uh, how are you able to manifest it?
So I think, it kind of goes back to kind of what I was starting to tell, the story
Yes,
of,
yes.
post 40,
Hmm.
and then picking up really, those first few books. I mean, the first few books I read were things related to, I mean, I like Robert Kiyosaki and personal finance. But it grew from that, from personal finance to just, holistically, what is it that I'm
Hmm.
looking for? Because it seemed like I was searching.
Hmm.
I just, it didn't matter. It just always seemed like I was searching for something. I wasn't sure what it was.
Right.
I wasn't sure what it was. There was a point where it's like, man, I would kind of look back and I'd say, well, I should really be happy, but am I happy? And I think I wasn't, right? There was something
Yeah.
that I was
Yeah.
missing.
Hmm.
So what happened with this new journey is, starting to focus on me,
Hmm.
starting to focus on, so I started a routine
Hmm.
that was basically, I've always enjoyed, like, say, exercise and working out, and it helped me kind of as therapy or meditation, if you may.
Hmm.
Uh, but I did it in spurts. There was a point where I used to do it every day, and I
Hmm.
stopped for almost 5 years. And
Hmm.
that's around the time where I really felt horrible. And I started it back again. But this time I was doing it with a different approach. So, in essence, there's a book that I always turn to, and I say, this book, in a way, turned my life around.
Hmm.
And that book was The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And
Hmm.
it basically was saying, if you want to change your life, wake up a little bit earlier and set up a daily routine, because our life is made up of habits.
Hmm.
So where you are now, if you're unhappy, you just have to look at what habits you have. What is
Hmm.
it that got you here?
Hmm.
And what habits do you want to build? So I
Hmm.
knew that I liked working out, and I knew how it made me feel,
Hmm.
kind of energized me and cleared my mind.
Hmm.
So it suggested four things. Well, it suggested maybe six. I picked up four. And
Right.
the four was: one, wake up early, do some exercise; two, you know, do some meditation;
Hmm.
three, do some journaling; and four, do some personal development.
Hmm.
I decided I was going to start doing that. And I wasn't sure. I mean, I was kind of skeptical about things like meditation. I didn't know what it meant. I
Okay.
was like, journaling, what am I going to write about?
Hmm.
Uh, so the
I remember.
exercise part,
I
uh,
remember a couple months ago you told me that you are journaling. You've been journaling for how long now?
yes, it's getting on close to 3 years. I mean, I basically fill
Yes. Yes. I
a
was like,
journal
wow.
book, about two journal books a day. Sorry, not a day, a year. I fill two journal books a year.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
every morning I set out, I've got a 2 hour block where I'll
Uh-huh.
do about 45 minutes of exercise. I'll
Hmm.
do about 50 minutes of meditation. I'll do
Hmm.
45 minutes of reading and another 15 minutes of journaling. And I've been doing that consistently now for the past 3 years. And you
Hmm.
talk about resilience. There's something that happens, when you do something consistently for long enough. I think, consistency is that one thing
Hmm.
that we don't give credit.
Hmm.
There's things like the eighth wonder of the world is
Hmm.
compound interest. But that
Right.
compound interest comes from that consistency. If you do the exercise every day, you get stronger, your mind gets clearer. If you do the meditation, your mind gets clearer, you can be more efficient. If you do the journaling, and in my journaling, there's things like gratitude, just
Hmm.
stopping to think in my life. I can easily focus on things like what's going wrong, which there's always a lot that's going wrong, right? But if you just switch that focus and you switch to what's going right, and you remind yourself, this is what's going right, and I'm writing it. It kind of, it's in the forefront. Every single day, I think about, okay, what are my goals? I write them down. And you start to see these things happen, and they become a reality in your life as they're happening. It's like, wow, this is, it's almost like you are programming yourself, right? I'm in IT, right? You have a software for a computer. You upgrade the software, right? And it determines how that machine runs. We have software. Our environment is our software.
Okay.
What we eat, what we listen to, the people we're around, our parents, all these things are creating a program that then determines what happens in your life. So I think what happened when I started to read the books, I started to see something that I'd been looking for. I was like, but success. What is success? How do you get to success? Well, what is it that I was looking for? Is it financial success? If that's what I want, there's people who've done it and have done it the best in the world. I can find out from them how to do it. Right.
Right.
If I want health, there are people out there who are healthy and can tell you, like, information is not the problem, right? Information is readily available. And a lot of people have a lot of information, but very little knowledge, because knowledge, you have knowledge and it's shown by your action. So I started to read more, and I started to apply some of these different practices that people were using in their own lives, and the proof was that they've got the results. So I'm not going to a mechanic and saying to him, "Hey, I've got a toothache," right? If I want to have someone help me with my health, I will go to the person I can find a mentor in the health space, and have them help me help myself. So I started doing that in different aspects of my life, whether it's personal finance, whether it's my emotional well-being, whether it's my physical health. I started to do these things and do them consistently, and I started to see the results.
Wow.
A year in, I felt amazing, right?
Right.
Before I started this journey, I used to do my annual physical. I still do. And I remember the doctor saying, well, you might have to work on your diet because your cholesterol is not looking good.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. The marker started, and it was ticking up every year. I remember, like, 4 years thinking, man, this stuff is, 4 years every year. I started doing this. After the first year I went for my first physical, the doctor was like, whoa, what are you doing? I knew I felt great, but
Right.
it feels good when there's, concrete information, and there's numbers to put behind everything that says, well, yeah, this is what you're doing. So that practice, just the daily practice, helped me physically, mentally. And so when this world is changing, right? I mean, I did things like 3 years ago, I cut off cable. I don't have TV, right? Because again, all these things, in my view, that's what's programming you. I turn on the TV, and the president is saying some stuff that is has people, and then I'm worked up. I can't even get any sleep. I'm concerned. I have no control over what he says or what he does. The only thing I have control over is me and what I ingest, whether it's visually or otherwise, right? So I started to just eliminate all these things that were not helping me get to where I was trying to get to.
Good point,
and,
man.
And making sure that I had 40 years of programming that was happening without me realizing. Right.
Wow.
And now I was at a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm in control. I need to control what goes in. I know what I want out, but the results you get is an element of what you put in. The food you eat is information for you, right? What you read is information. That everything is like your mind is what you need to help you drive all these things. And if my mind could be in the right place, and I could ingest and take out all the negative, focus on the positive with my journaling, have
Mhm.
major goals that help me drive for something, understand that if I fear failing, that's okay. Fear is just a lack of
Did you
knowledge.
say fear or fail? Can you?
Well, if I fear failing, it is
Okay.
okay, because I need to understand that
Mhm.
fear is just a lack of knowledge. I fear something that I don't understand. Why am I scared
Okay.
of something? It's because I probably don't understand it. I mean, the things that you fear are the things that you don't understand. So if I fear something, you know, I need to find out more about that. The more I understand about it, the less fear I have about it. And if I fail, failure again is nothing to fear, because as you fail, you learn something and you keep growing. And I think for me, the benefit was all this reading that I was doing. I was seeing example after example after example, right? We're coming back from
Mhm.
vacation. We just went and saw the Wright Brothers Memorial. The first guys who had the first flight, right? It's like you have all
Right.
these great things that are happening. Are these people who do these things, are they special in any kind of way? What is it that can take someone, a regular person, and they achieve extraordinary things? It's
Wow.
their outlook. It is your outlook. If you're willing to stay consistent, stay disciplined, you have a
Mhm.
vision and you have a goal and you go for it. It's just
Mhm.
a matter of time before you reach it. It's kind of, I think, as you read story after story after, how did Mandela go through all of that? He had a vision. He had a picture of what he's going through. So anything that's happening now, you know, it's just, he knows where he's trying to get.
Wow.
He will keep
So
doing what it takes. Yep.
yeah, that's profound, man. I know my audience is gonna enjoy this podcast. This is great, man. This is great. This is deep and beautiful and really enlightening. Um, let's talk about the especially that we're here in the diaspora, and then, for example, you know recently you had tragedy back home, and did you was it hope or faith that sustained you? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
you sort of touched on it a little bit as far as resilience, is concerned, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, that was really when I got all the proof I needed of where I was,
yeah.
physically, mentally, whether you want to say spiritually or whatever, because, yeah, like you kind of touched on. So I lost my dad unexpectedly, right? We are busy
Hmm.
planning his 50th wedding anniversary. He's fine. We're
Yeah.
talking to him. We just celebrated my daughter's birthday with him on video
Yeah.
chat. He's good. And then a few days later, he's gone, right? And it's like, ooh, I cannot travel. Oh man, this is crazy. Like there's all these things around that make
Mhm.
the situation even more challenging, right?
Right.
And I think for me, that's when I really know without a shadow of a doubt that, I mean, I knew it, but sometimes you think you know something until, you know, you're pushed up against a really, really challenging situation. So I
Mhm.
don't think my situation could have gotten more challenging than that. Losing a father,
Yeah.
but I
Right.
knew that what I was doing was working, because
Okay.
when that happened,
Hmm.
I remember stopping and thinking, "Wow, how lucky have I been?" I mean, it's crazy. All the things that were happening at a time where people, were concerned about me, like you can't do this, you can't travel. How are you good managing? You've been there, you know.
Hmm.
The predominant feeling was gratitude.
Okay.
Gratitude for the father he had been. Gratitude. I mean, all the great memories just started to rush in, right?
Right.
Before he passed away, I'd been chatting with him because we had the lockdown. I was like, man, so my dad was kind of like the family historian. I mean, he was a historian by training, a lecturer and
Hmm.
all that, but
Hmm.
he knew the family history. So I kind of gave him a challenge on Family Chat. Hey, can you start, writing a book about our history? And he was kind of, I don't know if I'm ready. That's going to take a lot. I was like, well, you know what? Just think about it. Do a page a day. I was kind of taking from my journaling, right? Trying to do a page a day. In 10 days, you got 10 pages. Yeah. So he decided, okay, I'm going to start. I think about a week before his untimely passing, he completed the book.
Wow. Wow.
I was like, wow. I mean, all these things are happening. I'm like, you have to be kidding me. You had how did we, it's like I almost knew, right? So when he passes.
That's where my worry is coming from. It's like, something was sort of kind of telling you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, my greatest concern was my mother when all this was happening. People are concerned about, but I felt like, I mean, emotionally, otherwise, yes, I miss him. I wish he was here. Yes, we had plans, but man, how many people have had a father like that for that long? Like I said, I started to think about all the little things. I remember putting me on his lap when I was about maybe 8, 9 and teaching me how to drive.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember my first trip to the US in 1991, and he gave me a fanny pack, and he said, "Look, put all your passports and your traveler's checks right here. Make sure it's right here. And here's a little sister. Make sure she's taken care of." And they threw me on a plane with her with no grown up. I was a grown up at 13 or 14, whatever I was. So I have just been blessed to have So those are the things for me. You talk about resilience. It's looking inside and focusing on positive, like making a conscious effort. It might seem initially like it's odd or it's a little wacky, like, why are you staying so positive? But what you get out of life is what you focus on. Like wherever your energy goes, that's what you'll see. No matter how bad it gets, I think we forget, we give away our control, but we are in control of us. No matter what happens out there, you determine how it affects you. You determine what you feel, So in that bad situation, all I could think of was positive.
Wow.
Which is, I think about it now and I'm like, that's kind of amazing.
Yeah. It's
the compound interest of all the things that I'd been doing leading up to that point, right? Sometimes it may seem like, oh man, why are you all this reading? What is that for? Like, what are you getting ready for? Like, I will do things like take a cold shower in the morning just to keep my body alert. I feel great. I have to, but it's like, what are you getting ready for? But I think in life, for me, what I've seen, at least in my life, keeping myself challenged in different ways is how I grow. Is, now that I look back, I can connect those dots. It's like, oh, that like the buildup, right? So when I started this journey, like I talk about my morning routine, I decided, because I hadn't been doing good for a while. So I decided I need to make myself uncomfortable. I hadn't been that active with social media, but I decided I was going to put my workout on Facebook for accountability.
And it's inspiring, I tell you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I did it at first because I knew I had been trying to do this and I'd fail. I'd be good for 6 months and I'd fall off. But now I was putting it out there and it was going to challenge me. It was for me kind of accountability to myself by putting it out, and something that will make me a little uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable, but was enough to keep me going. I had to kind of circumvent my, my system and my process, put myself in an uncomfortable position so that I could keep doing this thing until such a point where it's habit. I did it long enough to where now it's habit. People ask like, how are you doing? Well, now it's almost like I'm brushing my teeth. Like I don't even think about it. If I don't do it, I'd be like, oh man, I missed my routine.
Wow.
But it's something that I kind of force myself to do, knowing that there's benefit in doing it. And, So now I'm here. I'm like, wow. Wow.
That's
Sometimes you have to put yourself. Now it's not for me anymore. It's people like, man, keep doing that. I'm enjoying it. Help me get up. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's bigger than just me now.
right,
So it's like,
right,
wow,
right.
it's a win-win.
I love it, man. I love it. So, Mothusi, is it possible to erase pain?
Well, I don't know if you're, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to figure it out. Is it possible to, because is it something that you can just push it aside and say, you know what, forget it?
Now, so that's the thing. I think, because I think it's all internal, right? What someone says is pain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so losing my father.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sad he's not here.
Mm-hmm.
There is, but what happens when I think about him? Like I said, when I think about him, I smile, right? I think about him and I think about all the great memories. So again, it's a matter of, I think when I started this journey, there was an element of self-mastery that I was looking for.
I want to let you know that this thing, what you're saying right now, is very powerful. So I want you to continue on it. This is really, really powerful, and I think it's going to help a lot of people. I really love it. So.
No, thanks. I mean, it's I this is the type of stuff that I wish I could hand over to someone else, because you see people in pain, you see people suffering, and a lot of people don't realize how much control they have. The world has programmed us to think we have no control, when all the control is internal. You are whatever you see out there. Like, the world as you see it is because of who you are. So one situation, two people see completely different. And why? It's because of who they are. So if you want to control anything, start by controlling you. You have to get to a point where you make positive the central point of your life, like your outlook on life. If you look for positive, you'll see positive, and that's what will continue to happen. If you look for negative, you'll see negative. Sounds a little, like, oh, that's wacky. But I'm saying this for me because I've learned from people who've done it. I've done it for myself. And the proof for me is in the pudding. Like I said, when my dad passed, it was like, okay, what greater proof do I need than this right here? Right. So you say pain, and I say pain is a reflection of what's going on inside. Right.
And that is, go ahead. But I was saying that's connected to stress, right? Like,
exactly. I mean, stress. Yeah. So stress, again, we are being controlled by the outside environment, right? You could be driving, you're on the highway driving, and maybe traffic is backed up, and you will see an individual who just loses it, sitting in a car in traffic, stressed out, right? That person cannot handle the outside world. Why? Because their inside world is troubled. It's not what's happening. Yes, there's always going to be things in the outside world that bother you. But if you find that internal calmness, and talk meditation, right? Meditation, looking within and calming yourself, that is what helps you handle the outside world. At least helps me. Right? If you have that inner calm and inner focus of peace, of prosperity, inner focus of positive, it's very difficult for the outside world to throw you off. And this I'm saying, and this has happened for me in the last 3 years. This is not, I mean, if you talked to me 4 years ago, it would be a completely different conversation. But from 3 years of consistent effort and doing the things that I've mentioned have completely changed my world in so many ways. But it takes effort. Like, you have to have, there's effort, like there's knowledge, there's information and there's knowledge, right? There's a lot of information out there, but I don't think it's really knowledge until you act on it. Get the information, act on it. Get the information, get it from the right people, the best people who've done it. So I believe, I mean, and this is, I believe that there is greatness in every one of us, and it's our duty to find out what it is. Your duty on this world is to find out what your purpose on this world is. And when you truly find out what it is, you'll be amazed, because it's, we've kind of, whether it's dumbing ourselves down or accepting mediocrity, whatever it is, we've come to accept the world has programmed us in a way where we are not even a tenth, not even a thousandth of what we could be or why we're here. Like, why are you here? Why did you come this way? Like, after you're gone, what was the point of you being here?
Talk about it. Mm-hmm.
Right? I think those are some of the things, and maybe this happens after you're like post 40. You start thinking philosophically about the world. But I think that's really, for me, that's when my eyes were a little open. Like, I was chasing whether it's education but whatever I was chasing, I already had. And I just needed to realize it, that you already have it. It's nothing that is out there. Because once you can have it inside and you can have a clear picture of it and you can have the focus, it has to start within first, and then you can see it outside. But you have to have something you're driving for. You have to have that beautiful picture. And the meditation sometimes helps me in discovering who I am.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about meditation. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do meditation, and it always sounded weird to me because, people, when I used to think of meditation, I think of whether, people do things like ohms and funny things. It just seemed like, I don't know, is it a religion or is it a cult? Like, I didn't understand what it was, right? And so it was weird. I was of the mind of, hey, I only do certain things, and things I didn't understand, I kind of labeled. and didn't try. So the way I started meditation was I did a program called P90X. I don't know if you ever seen this, like they had the P90X stuff on TV.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a fitness thing, right? So in that fitness program, it's like a 90-day fitness program. In that fitness program, there's a day where you do yoga.
Okay.
So I started yoga in P90X. And if you do yoga, there's always an element of meditation in it. That was my first. Things like yoga, I wouldn't do. But I started doing yoga. Yoga fixed my back. I used to be like, I used to work out quite a lot, and I used to use a lot of heavy weights. And I beat up my body in different ways. So I couldn't run for more than a mile. My lower back would just lock up. I started doing yoga, that pain disappeared. Started doing yoga. So my mind was slowly opening up to things that were different. Sometimes we think we know it all because we're doing things we're used to. But now I started to open up to different things. I did yoga. My back pain was gone. Started to run. I could run 6 miles. I could run 8 miles. Like, oh, wait, the pain wasn't there. I started to do meditation. So meditation, and the type of meditation I do, is just slowing down what's going on outside and focusing internally. And I do that by just focusing on my breath. That's it, nothing else. I just basically just pay attention to your breath going in and out. It's difficult, like try to stop the thoughts, because I start and it's like, oh man, I've got this meeting. Did I finish? Did I send that email? I've got to do this. Like the mind is always racing, right? And so I'm trying to quieten down the mind so I can get some clarity. And that's basically what it is. And the more you do it, just like exercising and trying to get stronger, it's strengthening that side of you. That's like a mental, so it's mental strengthening by looking inside. You're not looking for anything outside. You're just focusing internally. And the more you do it, the compound interest of consistency starts to kick in. And you become more clear. Yeah. Wow. As you keep doing it, the world, I mean, like literally, the world becomes clearer. I remember doing it, and I would wake up in the morning and maybe go to the clubhouse to work out. As I'm walking over there in the morning, I started to hear birds. Birds have always been there, right? But my mind has been so busy.
Before, right?
Yeah, like I couldn't hear that stuff because I was thinking a lot of things. Like I could start to see the world almost from different eyes. Like I knew something was happening. Like, how did I get here? Like, where is this clarity coming from? Because I was slowing down.
So you can actually hear nature or enjoy nature in the midst of this madness.
You can actually now start to appreciate everything that's happening around you and nature and all those little things that you were taking for granted or didn't even pay attention, didn't even realize they were there. But that's go ahead.
No, I don't want to cut you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was saying, but that's, it's like even when I'm at work, right? I was starting to see efficiency. Like I would take care of stuff that used to take me a week. I could have it done in a couple of hours. The focus that I had now is, and one thing is what I try to do now is do one thing at a time. This whole multitasking thing, it's not for me. So if I do one thing, if I want to be efficient, focus everything I'm doing on that one thing.
Okay, let's talk about that. So, like somebody like me who's doing all kinds of stuff and there's a lot of distraction, right? So you are So you are saying if I have projects, if I have 3 books that I'm working on, I should just focus on one book, finish this one book first, right?
That's it. Like, do not. So multitasking, jumping. If you're trying to do 3 books, they all that project ends up being much longer, or you get deflated. So what I've found out is one, you have to build a habit, right?
Okay.
A habit that you strengthen, and the way to build a habit is to start small. Start small with achievable goals. Focus on one thing, but start small and start to increase the challenge within that one area. But focus your time and energy on that one thing and build capacity. Okay. So you focus your energy, you build capacity, then you can do more. But then you become more efficient. You can do more in less time. But you do one thing. If you spread and you're trying to write 3 books, you're over here a little bit, your mind has to switch to this. But you're losing a lot of efficiency in trying to switch from one thing to another. Versus if you finish this and you go to the next, you'll find that you're moving a lot faster than you thought. But I think it's in our nature. Sometimes when we have a lot going on, we feel like we're accomplishing a lot. But I think, like I said, the proof is always in the pudding.
You're right.
That's what works for me. Do one thing, finish one thing, then you can do the next. But in doing that, if I'm here, I'm talking to you, I shouldn't have something else on the side, because then I'm not giving you my time and my focus and my attention. Then we are missing out on something. Whatever's happening out over here doesn't have that's missing out on. So it's just bits and pieces of you. But if I can be here and be present and focus on this, and then when I'm done, do the next thing and focus on that, then everything that I'm trying to do, I can put my all into that one thing.
I love it, man. I love you. Inspired me. I was watching you the other day and you were doing like this push-up. I'm like, this guy is like electric, man. If I try to do that, push up that fast, I don't think I can get to 15 or 20, and you were like, 50 because I counted them. Like you were going over 50. It's about endurance as well, but also it's about your mind, right?
Yeah, so that's interesting. For me, exercise, like I said, I've always enjoyed it.
Yeah, but you're in good shape, man. You are in good shape.
and this happened within the last 3 years. Because like I said, I stopped for about 5 years. So I used to work out a lot. But the type of working out I was doing is I was doing lots of weight. I talked about my back. I've tore my rotator cuff. I had surgery in my shoulder. That's what I used to do before, because you know why I was doing it back then?
You don't do heavy weights anymore? Okay.
Hardly. Maybe once in a while for a little bit of challenge, but I hardly do heavy weights. But back then, I was trying to see how big can I get? It was competition. what is the next guy doing? Can I do more than him?
Right.
But
right.
I think as I got older, especially within the last 3 years, the focus has changed. So for me, exercise is just a small portion of what I'm working on, which is self-mastery. How do I tell my body to do what it wants?
Okay.
It's easy for me to say, I don't feel like it and I won't do it. Or make up an excuse why I cannot do something. So it's a physical kind of exercise is a physical way of seeing what's going on with me mentally. With consistency, I can get stronger. I could do 50 push-ups, 100 push-ups, right? That's the physical strength. With the meditation and that strength mentally, what can I do? I mean, even just an idea. First, you could say, oh, that's too much. I can't do that, right? And you can shut off an idea. But then you can build your mental capacity and your mental strength, and you can know that you can do it. If you can start now and do a little bit every day, a year you will be stronger physically and mentally. 2 years you will be even stronger. You could do 100 mental push-ups or whatever that is mentally, right? So for me, all these things are a piece of the puzzle. They're all interconnected. Before it was about outside, trying to compete with that guy, trying to be stronger than that guy, right? Now it's about how do I override all those, the negativity, the excuses, and all that's what exercise is showing physically. So when I post, that's part of the story I'm trying to tell.
Okay.
Right? If you do a little bit every day, a year from now, you'll be amazed at what you can do. 2 years from now, it's like, oh, wow. I feel in better shape now than I was in my 20s. I could do more now than I could in my 20s. Physically. And that's from a strength perspective, from a flexibility perspective, and that's both mentally and physically. But it's because of building, we get this idea that you're getting older, that means you should, get weaker, but it's just, what are your habits? Because you've got the compound interest that's building up as you're getting older. Oh, come home, watch TV, grab a hamburger or whatever, and you're eating that and you're doing it for the next 20 years. What do you think is going to happen? Taking out the non-communicable diseases and all that. I mean, so I'm at a point where I'm trying to control these different aspects of my life as much as I can, so that, because I'm looking for longevity, I want to be here when my kids have kids.
Right.
And still be able to run around with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for me, it's not just exercise. It's more of a practice. It's like yoga. You're practicing something, and with the continued practice, you're never going to get there, right? But if you continue to practice, and it's the same thing with the books I'm reading. I'll pick up something here, that grows me. I'll pick up something there that grows me. Everything is just because I've gotten to a point where I'm like, man, I've underestimated myself. I need to realize that, this greatness is in all of us. You just have to realize it. Quieten your mind long enough and look internal long enough to realize you have limitless potential. Physical is just one, and it's a very small part of it, but it's more your mental capacity.
That's powerful. Mothusi, I don't know if you want to answer this question. What is different between holistic and holistic?
I don't know. I mean, I think to me they kind of the same thing.
The same.
All the different parts of your life that come together to make you whole. Right? I think that's holistic. And I don't know. I mean, I haven't. Well, what are your thoughts? I mean, I think they're
No.
basically pointing to the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the holistic life is, you know, take care of your health, your physical, your mental.
Mm-hmm.
Take care of your relationships. Take care
Mm-hmm.
of your financial health. Take care of your spiritual health. And
Good.
that's kind of what I'm looking to do. These
Good.
different aspects of my life. If I say I'm successful, I
Mm-hmm.
have to make sure that I'm taking care of these different aspects. I think for
That's
me, if I was to thrive in one area and another area of my life is failing, that is not holistic. That is not
yeah.
success.
Okay. Let's quickly, because I think we ran out of time, and I love this. This
How did the hour go by that fast?
I know. I know. I know. Let's transition quickly to leadership. I think we're gonna have to do a part two. In one couple months or so. So yeah. Some people say leaders must lead themselves first before they can lead others. What is your opinion on this? Also talk about how leaders who inspire have better results. Sinek, I noticed that, you read some of his books, he said that those who are able to inspire give people a sense of purpose or belonging that has little to do with any external incentive or benefit to be gained.
Yeah, I mean, Simon Sinek and his book Start With Why, I
Mm-hmm.
think speak to what you're talking about here. I think in order to lead, I think the leaders you see are
Mm-hmm.
people who have led themselves well, because in order to lead others, you have to first lead yourself, right? It's easy to make up excuses of why you cannot do this, why you cannot do that. And if you're going to and I'm talking all internally, right? So there's a
Right,
lot of
right.
things where you are accountable to yourself and you don't have to account to anyone else. And you can make excuses internally and get away with it, because you know what? No one is going to hold you up to it. No one is going
Right.
to say, hey, but you said. You can tell yourself, I'm going to do this, and then I was going to work out in the morning. I don't feel like it today. No one knows. You didn't promise anyone anything, but you know. So I think to be a good leader, first you have to be able to lead yourself and lead yourself through those difficult situations. Because I think once you lead yourself, you start to inspire others, and they can see that personal leadership. And that's what starts to motivate them, right? There's many types of leaders out there. But I think the best kind of leadership is first personal leadership, which inspires. Because I think to lead others, you have to be inspired. And it's not necessarily you, it's the inspiration that you're carrying that helps whoever's following. Because then that inspires them and it comes from within. And they can follow because they themselves are inspired. So, yeah, I mean, I think leadership is something that we should all work on, because we're all leaders in our own right. Right? You have to work on leadership, which is to me why personal development is so important. Continually trying to grow those areas, and self-leadership is one of them. Those areas that help you become a better individual.
Wow. That's great. What about vision? You want to say anything about vision,
Well, vision, I think it's so for me, vision is the driving force.
Okay.
If you want to do anything, first have the vision. And I talked about, all these, whether we're talking about the Wright brothers, whether we're talking about Ford, whether, I learned from all these guys who've done great things. Graham Bell, whether we're talking about Malcolm X, you have to have, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Helen Keller, even though she didn't really have vision, but a vision is, because I think there's that mental picture that you have. right? You have to have something you're growing toward, something that inspires you. And you have to see it first before it becomes real in the world. Like once you have a vision, you might not know how to get there, but you'll figure out a way. And that's what drives you. That's what gets you up every morning, trying to get a little closer to that vision. Because without a vision, I think you can go anywhere and the inspiration of life kind of goes away. So I think we all need some kind of vision to help drive us, get you up every morning, keep you inspired, keep you energized. Because without a vision, you're kind of floating.
And then you have to set up, set up goals to where you're going, right?
Yeah. So you talk about the journal and the goals. I mean, it's all for me. There's a vision, a long-term vision. There's the goals, whether you make them daily goals, monthly goals, like they're little steps that you can do every day to get you to your vision. There's learning that happens as you fail. You try this, you fail. Okay, well, you learn something from it. You try again tomorrow. Like I take everything one day at a time. I've got my goals, my visions. I do one thing and I do it one day at a time. If whatever it is, just one thing, one day at a time.
One day
and
at a time.
I've come to understand that if I can keep consistent with that, if I've set myself a goal, I might not know when it'll happen, but it will happen if I just stick to it.
Wow. And if something that you really, really believe that this is what you have to do, quitting is not an option.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the thing, right? Because you quit. These are habits, right? If you quit today, you kind of build a habit of quitting. And that's what, when I talk self-mastery, those are some of the things that I've been working on, continue to work on. It's not like I'm there. I continue to work on knowing that quitting becomes a habit. Avoid it by any means necessary, because once you start quitting, it kind of gives you an out. If you do it once, do it twice, or you know what, hey, if it gets a little tough, you know what, we'll just exit and try. It's not for me. But you're not growing, you're not learning anything, and now you've built the wrong habit, which is a habit of quitting. So for me, quitting is out. I don't quit. I'll just keep trying. I mean, sometimes you can change goals and that's okay, but I don't quit.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you could be focusing on something that's just not right. I think you have to be able to reassess. It's not like you just keep going at the same thing, but reassess. And if you've got a vision, you might have to change approach to reach your vision and your goal. But quitting is a no-no.
Quitting is a no-no.
I've gotten to that point. I used to quit a lot.
Okay.
And sometimes quitting is an element of fear. If you're scared of something, you don't understand something, then it's easy to quit. But again, if you build a capacity, you slowly build, the mental fortitude. It's like mental muscle. Realize and getting to appreciate what you get from failing. Because sometimes we quit because we fail once. So these are lessons that you get from whether you look at athletes. If you want to do something great, don't be afraid of failure. You're going to fail, right?
Okay.
When you set a goal, don't set a goal that is achievable, because that's not really, you're not challenging yourself. Set a goal that kind of excites you and challenges you, and you're wondering, how in the world am I going to get there?
Oh, that's good, man. That's good. Yeah.
So,
wow.
I mean, this to me is finally when I think, post 40, the light bulb has finally just come on in my life, where I'm like, wow, it's always been right here, but I was always searching for the wrong thing.
Well, I
also came into this world with all I need.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I came into this world with all I need. If I want to be an expert at anything, put my energy into that one thing.
Okay. That's good.
That's all. And put your consistent effort into that one thing. You will get to your goal. Don't quit, because, it's easy to quit. Build a habit of consistency, build a habit of perseverance, and stay positive. Because sometimes it is a simple change of mindset idea that can, all the hard work, sometimes we work hard and not smarter. All the hard work just Like, man, I've been putting in so much effort. If I had just changed this over here, it would have been done.
Wow.
So,
Mothusi, we all have people that that we love, we like, our families and all that. But sometimes people can be a little bit, they can be part of distraction in your life. I mean, you talked about quietening your mind. I don't know how you quieten people that you like, that you love. How do you distance yourself from those distractions?
Well, distractions. I think they're always going.
It could be in your family, it could be at work, it could be some of your friends, but you know that these people, man, if I hang around a lot with these people, I'm not going anywhere. But you love these people, you like these people. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just toss them out. How do you deal with this kind of...
I'm scratching my head because that could be a challenge, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be cognizant of what happens with, I don't know who said it, but someone said, you're the average of the 5 people you hang around with, right? For me, I've had many examples of kind of what a change in environment can do. So, going back home, wanting to do things, being in an environment that is not conducive to my growth and having to leave it. Being in an environment, if I was to go to maybe, the company of my undergrad, that I had in undergrad, that wouldn't be conducive for what I'm trying to do or kind of the growth I've had. Because sometimes the company you keep, they're going to keep you at a certain level. And that includes family, right? So, I mean, mine has been kind of extreme where I can move and go across a whole ocean. Sometimes you don't have that option, but I think you have to be active in what happens in your life and what you want. Like, you have to design your own life. And if you have to assess what's going on, because like I said, we are being programmed. What type of programming do you want? Spending an hour with the right people can completely change the trajectory of your life just by the thought and the ideas that are happening within that environment, right? Mm-hmm. Or you could be in a certain clique of people where it's like, man, we are not getting anywhere here. It's destructive. So I think that's a choice we all have to make. But you have to realize what's happening. What's happening is your environment programs you. Now, what kind of programming are you looking for? Now, for me, I decided the type of programming I'm looking for, and that's why I cut off TV. That's why I do all the reading. That's why I am particular, well, not that particular. Sometimes I'm particular about what I eat. Well, I try to be, right? Mm-hmm. Because all this is information. Food is information. All this is, if you have a thoroughbred horse, you're going to be particular about what you feed it because you want it to perform a certain way, right?
Right.
But human beings have the greatest potential on this earth. If you want to perform, and your greatest potential is your mind, you have to put it in a position where it can perform, the best for you. And you have to understand that all these things that you're allowing are programming you. You can, you've been programmed on what you think you can achieve and what you think you can't. You've been programmed on what you think you look like. This is all external stuff, right? People will say, "Oh man, you look old," or "Oh man, you look young," or "Oh man, you look good," "Oh, you look bad." You could have someone who says, "Oh, my nose is too big. I don't like my nose," and they can have surgery and have it reconstructed, and they'll still don't see it.
Right.
Because the world is telling them they have this self-image that is built by the world. The world builds your self-image. Now I've gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? I don't want the world to build my self-image. I want to build my self-image. So I'll take out the news and all the crazy stuff it's slowly building an image that you don't want. I will choose what I want to build. And this whole journey for me is really putting in what I want in there. I know what I want out, but so if I want that out, like you could say I want to do this, but you're not getting the results. Why? Why are you not getting the results you want?
Okay.
Maybe what's going in is the wrong stuff.
Ooh. Ooh. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Wow. Okay. Now that's deep. That's good, man. Wow. So, Mothusi, this is an election year. I know you don't watch news, but maybe you just read a little bit. But I'm pretty sure you know that this is an election year. So, what does this coming election mean to you as a Black man living in America? Or it doesn't really.
Man, that's a tough one because I think part of the incentive for me cutting off cable was a current political environment.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's toxic.
It's toxic.
It's
yeah.
toxic. I mean, I remember when Obama was running, when Obama was elected, there was so much hope in the air, right? There was so much. I felt like, wow, I don't believe that I'm alive during this time, and there was so much positive energy.
Right.
But I think what the current administration is maybe showing us is that, well, as much as some segment of the population was feeling like things are positive, obviously there were a lot out there who were still disgruntled. And we all know the history of this land. Right. So I think the current administration is just kind of showing us that we're not where we thought we were. I mean, it's critical that people get out there and vote. It's critical, but I think it's really showing us where we are as a nation, where we are. I talk about looking inside, because if people could really do, some of this meditation and looking inside and not always looking outside, we'd all be in a better place. But I think there's just a lot of history and a lot of ugliness in this world that is still very much alive.
Yeah. Wow.
So
now that's
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but like you said, I don't watch it because again, there's only so much I can do, and I have to control my peace and my sanity.
Yeah, and I don't want to poison what you just said. This good work that you just put out right now with this politics. But that was a great answer, the one that you just gave me right now. What about the impact of diaspora on the state of Africa, like socio-economic?
So for me, and this might get a little crazy, because for me, I think there is huge potential there, right? I think really when you talk diaspora, you talk, Africans outside of Africa, you talk maybe even Black people, right? Because if you're getting persecuted everywhere, everywhere you are, because I talk about programming, and I think Black people in general have been programmed over the years to think less of themselves in different ways, whether it's apartheid in Africa, or in South Africa, or it's colonization, or it's slavery here. It's kind of elements of the same thing, right? But I think, there's potential to get beyond that. And you talk about the diaspora, or even, in Africa, there's things like, say, Black Panther. I think that energized the Black population in a unique kind of way. I think of, Akon and some of the things he's doing, right? There's great potential because I think when people come together, they could do a lot more. And first, you have to love yourself. And I think for Black people, there's a lot of growth that's needed for Black people to truly love themselves and see what the potential is, what's possible. And I think part of that is in the diaspora getting together with the continent and starting to form, very, very clear, united approach. And one thing I say for people here, I think you would benefit a lot if you're Black and in America by taking a trip to Africa. There's something different that happens when you've grown up in an area where you are a minority and you go to an area where you are the norm. Right. And I think you kind of need that to start, giving you a new sense of identity, that self-image, because you have to build a strong self-image in order to achieve anything. If your self-image has always been something negative, the results you're going to get are going to be negative. So I think that diaspora connection to the motherland is a critical one. And I think there should be more inroads built to bring the two together in different ways. I mean, you have things like, people sending money back home, and that's okay. But I would like to see more human to human type interaction, and kind of closing that bridge, because I think there's a big bridge that is there by design, and we need to narrow that bridge.
Yeah, now that's interesting because I have an interview with this guy. He's out here in the Bay Area. He runs. I don't know if you are familiar with I Love Being Black. It's more like a movement, but it's a Facebook page, But he helps Black people to go to Africa to connect with people in Africa. Yeah,
nice. And I think that's what's needed.
Yeah,
I think we need it in a more organized manner, right? Like if you could get business people from here to travel, meet business people from there.
Yeah.
Help set up. I mean, these are things that I have, and I'm like, I wish I could. These are things I want to do, right? Like start to form real relationships and have people invest. Sometimes people don't get vested until there's money in there, right? But start to close that gap by being very deliberate about what you're trying to do. Sometimes people go back and they kind of have to figure their own, like structure it and organize it in such a manner where, people know what to expect. People know what they're getting into. There are no major surprises that can make things like, oh, I tried. It's not for me. Because you have to understand too, there's a lot of brainwashing that happens. You talk media and what people here think about people there, it's the story.
I know the story. Yeah. Well, Mr. Sechele, let's bring it home, man. Let's talk about success in a nutshell. You talked about it, but I just want you to close with it, like your last word, your message of hope, like, success in a nutshell, if you can,
Wow. Well, and I always say success because I'm like, I'm a student here. I think we all have to. I used to before I finished undergrad, I was like, man, when I'm done with this, there's no more school for me.
Yeah.
Right. So there's success, and success is different for everyone. Right. Okay. I used to think that success was academic. I used to think that. But I think, it's greater than that. It could be for you, for one person. It could be for everyone needs to know what it is for them and truly know. So to be successful, I think the first thing you have to do is you have to be yourself. And by be yourself is you have to know who you are, right? And I think, what's that guy's name? Bill Gove. Bill Gove had a quote. And the quote was, if I want to be free, I've got to be me. Not the me I think you want me to be. No, wait. If I want to be free, I've got to be me. Not the me I think you think I should be. Not the me my kids think I should be. Not the me my wife thinks I should be. If I want to be free, I've got to be me. So I'd better know who me is.
Oh, okay.
Like I think in essence, we all have to know who we are. Right? It has to start there. If you want to be successful, most of the time we're looking outside for success. All the success you're looking for, you already have. You just have to, you need the awareness, but all the success you're looking for, you already have. So, whether it's to be really free, you have to know who you are. And by knowing who you are, then you can be successful. So spend a little time and know who you are.
My brother, thank you very much. This has been, beautiful time with Mr. Sechele. Thank you so much for coming in, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks for the opportunity, man. You're doing great things. I mean, I think, what you're doing here is, these are the things that I think I appreciate, because I think there's awareness that we need, and people need to start shedding light on different things. And thank you for everything you're doing. Keep doing it. Keep, getting people on here. And you're definitely doing your part. All the best, man. Vangoland, I know you're doing great things.
Yes,
Keep up the great work. Thanks for the opportunity, man. I appreciate it. It's this is an area for me that I think it's clear if we're on social media, you know what I'm kind of doing there, because it's an area that I'm sharing because I believe in it, and I wish more people could invest in themselves a little bit, because you're all you have, right? And you're not your body. We're in these bodies, but we're not our bodies. We are something much greater than our bodies.
Wow.
So,
that's wonderful, man.